Hey folks, this week we get to meet the Geekwife. You get the inside scoop on what it's like living with a Linux guy's shenanigans. The times I almost broke both desktops at the same time. The times I baked a printer, and a whole lot more. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned. This is Floss Weekly, episode 837, recorded on Tuesday, June the 17th. World's best beta tester. Hey folks, it's time for Floss Weekly. That's a show about free, libre, and open source software. I'm your host, Jonathan Bennett, and today we've got something, well, different and fun and off the beaten path for us, but I think you're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be a treat. We've got a guest today that a lot of you probably know from hanging out in Discord. Those of you that join us on the Hackaday Discord, that is. We have Geekwife. And I think this is going to be really interesting because she is a lay person that runs Linux for reasons that we'll get into here in just a minute. Uses a lot of open source software, some of it by choice, some for other reasons. And but we have a lot of fun with it. And I think you'll really enjoy getting to know her. And so without any further ado, I'm going to bring on the Geekwife. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And yes, this was me saying, I don't have a guest for tomorrow. I have an idea. And I've had this idea in my back pocket for quite a while, actually. And my wife was kind enough to agree and to come along. And so we get to interview her and to get the inside scoop on some things that have happened over the years. And this should be fun. So I want to start by talking about the early years. I'm curious, what was your first interaction with open source? Like, when was this a thing that you discovered existed?
Probably when we were dating and you were all like, hey, I run Linux. Like,
I run Linux, by the way.
Yeah, great. Okay, whatever.
You did computing before that?
Not really.
I mean,
kind of. My brother games, so I mean,
mm-hmm.
That was my intro. But
yeah. You had a laptop though, right?
Yep.
Was the laptop named?
It was. I named it after Miranda Otto because I wasn't quite gonna go with Aowen, but you know she was the actress, so.
Yeah.
But I was a Microsoft person. Ran Vista.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't hate it, except for when it didn't print.
Oh, printers were the worst. I remember that. I remember when I started my business, I said, I'll do everything computers, but I'm not going to do anything with printers. That hasn't worked out real well, but we tried. So you started with this, well, I'm sure you had computer interactions before, but for college, did you get the laptop going off for college?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then about the time that we got married is when the plug was pulled on Windows Vista and it went out of support. And so you were in this kind of weird situation. What happened then? What did your husband do to you?
What did he do? He was like, hey, let me put Linux on your laptop. And I said, you're not touching my laptop. You're going to build me a computer. He's like, sure, but we're not paying for it. My Linux is free. Mm-hmm. And he talks to a habitual saver, so that was...
Free was a good sell.
Not too hard of a sell.
Yeah. Now, did I build that first desktop?
I think so.
Did I? I thought I made you do it.
I don't remember. I've built many desktops for you.
I was going to say, at some point, we started getting you actually putting them together. I have memories of, there was one period where we had like 7 different people needed desktops. And we almost had like an assembly line. We were sitting in the living room floor together, putting components into them.
Yep, during the Summer Olympics.
Yep. Fun times. So we built you a desktop, and we put some flavor of Linux on it.
Fedora. I think I've only had Fedora. I couldn't tell you the number.
I was trying to figure that out. It's been years now.
Whichever one was 2011.
I could find out, I'm sure. There is a Fedora release schedule. How did that go?
I have no memories of it being bad. So. I mean, there were definitely things where like, this is broken. And I don't know Linux, so I can't fix it. So fix it, please. And every time you ran updates for me, it's like, you broke my game. Fix my game.
Sounds like that would have been Fedora 15 or 16. So this was back when they had code names. So it was Lovelock or Vern. And then I'm sure we upgraded to Beefy Miracle and then Spherical Cow shortly thereafter. I love those Fedora names from the early days. They're so much fun. Upgrades. Upgrades were a thing.
Over the years.
You have a love-hate relationship with upgrades.
Upgrades are fine. Updates are horrible. So every time we update, something breaks.
Like a major update from one version to the next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even some of the minor updates. I'd run updates and then Wine wouldn't work. Play on Linux wouldn't work. Suddenly I can't open my financial program. I have no bookmarks in any of my browsers.
I have memories of all of these things.
My widgets disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Play on Linux? You do the gaming thing?
I did before kids.
What was your game of choice?
Usually Lord of the Rings Online. It's a fun MMO.
Yeah. I remember that for some reason the game would run great, but the Lotro launcher wouldn't. And so there was an open source project that was just the launcher, and it would handle getting game updates and then launching the game. It was such a weird thing for the longest time, but it worked mostly, almost all the time. We would occasionally have to go in and fix something.
Fix it every time.
Every time. It wasn't quite that bad.
It surely felt like it.
So has Linux been a breeze?
I don't know that it was any worse than anything Microsoft put out.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. So you've been running Linux as your primary desktop for like 14 years now. Do you realize that?
Yep.
Has it changed?
I guess in some ways. I know more what I'm doing now.
The experience is pretty similar.
I mean, things don't break quite as often, but I'm also not.
There we go.
I'm not on the computer as much either.
Well, that's.
I don't remember which update we did recently, like within the last couple years. So it probably was two updates ago. Mm-hmm. That I was determined I was going to set it up without your help, and I kept a running list of my first impressions of the new update, and I found all the weirdest problems, and I think I had to ask for help within the first 3 steps.
Was this when we decided that you're just the ultimate beta tester?
Yes. And the ultimate beta tester that can't get paid because I can't reproduce what I do to break things.
She has a gift.
But I can break things just by trying to put icons on the desktop.
She is kind of my barometer for the state of desktop Linux and Fedora. And so like when we could do an upgrade and everything just works and she doesn't have to come ask for help, then it's like, okay, this is okay for regular people. I don't know. We're closer. Like I feel like you haven't had to come. There hasn't been any tech support done for a bit.
Yes. Can I help? What?
Visited by a geekling.
What was the question? Hasn't been a lot of tech support?
Yeah, so it seems like, with some upgrades throughout the years, there's been a lot of tech support required. But here recently, there's been less and less of that needed.
True.
Is that because things are working better?
Probably a little bit of the things are working better, and I know how to Google better.
I mean, that is...
Or it's just I don't use it as much as I used to. So I don't play as many games. So
I mean, Googling...
I'm not here breaking the video card every two Tuesdays going, hey, what gives? My FPS is down to 27. I can't move. Fix it.
I mean, the video card is harder to break these days with everything AMD has been doing to make all that better. So you've got Lotro and Wine. What other programs do you use that are kind of in the open source space that have proprietary alternatives?
I use Newcash for our financial stuff. Pretty sure that's open source.
Yeah. So that
It works pretty well.
Yeah, compared to, like, I guess the only version of Quicken that you really have a whole lot of knowledge of is the ancient Quicken Home and QuickBooks Home and Business.
Well, I mean, I used to help with your customers, so there was some QuickBooks.
Oh, that's true.
But
what do you think of Newcash in comparison to that?
overall, it works all right. I'm not as good at Googling for answers for that one, so I just do what I do and make it work.
I mean, that's really what we're all doing. And then LibreOffice?
Yes, because I have it open. Now, if I were on my laptop, it would be a very, very old version of Microsoft Office, but...
On Miranda, the old Windows Vista laptop.
Yes, it's been 5 years, though, so I might not like it as much anymore.
You're used to this one. Does that make it...
It's my default now.
Yeah. I want to say Havana Syndrome, and I know that's Stockholm Syndrome. There you go. Is it Stockholm Syndrome at this point?
Probably not. I wouldn't go that far.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that.
I mean, I also use Google Docs, so that would be my point of reference.
Yeah, that's fair. There for a while, you did the programming thing.
Very short, yes.
What?
I was told that I was not actually a real programmer because I primarily only knew HTML and CSS, and the little bit of Python that I could make do something didn't count.
Who would say such a thing?
Your best friend.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't think I told you that.
No, it wasn't you.
Okay.
Nope, I was just getting started in PHP, dabbling in the intro to databases, and
JavaScript, probably, yeah.
But I got a job that had to do with none of it, so I canceled my learning subscription.
I can't even remember what program that was that we were using.
Treehouse.
Treehouse, that's right. Yeah. Yep. Haven't picked it up since then.
No, haven't had to.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of your web stuff in the background for a while when we only had one kid, but the more kids we have, the less I'm in the office.
Yeah, that's fair. Is that something you think you'll pick back up at some point?
One of my life goals is to be as epic as Doc Searle's wife.
That's a great call out. Well, personally, I think you already are, but I know what you mean. All right. So one of the things that I thought would be extremely fun is to go back over some of these stories that we've threatened to tell people, and there is one in particular. Well, it's about mobile and the various cell phones that we have had you using and the various firmwares on them. And one particular evening, you want to set this one up?
Your co-host Jeff has been asking for this story for years.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if it was, I think it was when we were moving from Cyanogen Mod to
Lineage.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but it seems like that's when it was. Yeah. But your best friend was over for the Rose Bowl, so it was right after New Year's. No, it was on New Year's.
I think it was on New Year's Day.
It was on New Year's because Rose Bowl is New Year's. And our local team was playing. So after I almost beat you both in Risk. Almost. We all got our laptops out and your friend was like, oh, if you're still on Cyanogen Mod, I need to move you over to Lineage. Okay, fine. Just make it work. I have to work tomorrow, so...
Don't break anything.
Don't break anything. Want all my apps to work because I have the same weird problem with updates on my phone. Where I update my phone and suddenly my apps don't work and it's obnoxious. And he was like, no, everything will be saved. I'll back up everything and it'll be fine. We're watching the game. We're all doing our things. And then suddenly, like, it's awfully quiet in here for a local football game. You broke something, didn't you? No. It's fine. It'll be fine. You'll have it in time for work. Yeah, of course. Sure. I better have it in time for work. Because if I don't have it in time for work, I'm taking your cell phone. It seems like it got quite late. The game ended. And you guys were both over there typing.
We both had our laptops out.
Unnaturally quiet.
Yes.
Having ignored the entire Rose Bowl game that you'd been looking forward to since you won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, I'm going to bed now, so expect my phone to be working by the morning. And to their credit, it was working by the morning. But I hear that he left at a crazy late hour.
It was after midnight, as I recall. Yeah, this was in that time when Lineage OS was fairly new and had taken over from CyanogenMod to become Lineage OS. And our buddy maintained a couple of the targets there. Not the, I think it was a OnePlus phone? Probably a OnePlus phone that she was using.
I don't remember.
Not that one, though. But he's like, oh, surely it'll work. I know the guy that maintains this. Surely he's got it working. And installed it, and something was just, I don't remember what it was, but something was fundamentally broken. Like, I think it would just boot loop. I don't think it would bring the screen up all the way. And so we saw that it was in this state, and it's like, oh no, what do we do? So I think our process was, like, we went and pulled the master branch and built it and installed that. It didn't work either. It's like, okay, well, let's roll back several versions and install that. I don't remember if that fixed it, or if he actually had to do some coding there on his laptop and then build it again. But it did. It took us a bit to get that phone back up and working, but we did it. We had a working phone for you in the morning.
To your credit, it was working. I did not take your phone to my work.
Indeed. Are there some other stories like that from over the years?
Oh, probably. Jeff mentioned it a couple years ago and had a running list. I had like 4 or 5 things of weird things that you've done over the years. Do
you remember the time I sort of desecrated your oven?
Yes, where you took a printer apart on my kitchen table and then put the parts into my oven. Like, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
To open up the windows. I don't want to be asphyxiated by any of these fumes.
It was an HP LaserJet printer, and it would just randomly throw the most bizarre error messages. And it was made during that same time frame as the Xbox 360. And so it had the same problem. The solder was lead-free when they were first making lead-free solder. And apparently, engineering was not quite up to the task of using lead-free solder. And so it would, the heating and cooling cycles, it would eventually crack in there and come, not necessarily unsoldered, but you would get like the hairline cracks. And it was enough to cause problems. And so, like what the towel trick is for the Xbox 360, you're getting the whole thing hot enough to reflow the solder. This printer, you take it apart and you put the motherboard into your oven at not
500.
Was it that hot? I didn't think it was that
500.
That could be. I guess it was fairly hot. Anyway, there's a Goldilocks temperature, and you put it in there for a few minutes. You let the thing come up, and then slowly cool it back down, and it reflows all the solder. And it worked for a while, not forever.
Seems like you might have done that a couple times.
I may have done it a couple of times to that, yeah. But it would work like for 6 months each time. And then finally, the company that owned the printer, they were like, we just bought another one. We got tired of having to do that. But it worked. That was one of the fun ones, is baking the printer in the oven. Any other interesting ones come to mind?
I know you did something to my desktop while it was turned on.
Oh.
I don't remember what it was. And I'm pretty sure you didn't tell me about it until after the fact.
Oh, this one is actually a good story. This is Core Boot, if I remember correctly. This was when I was messing around, with Core Boot, which is the open source BIOS replacement. And when I bought a new desktop, was it Ryzen? I think it was the chip before Ryzen. I think it was the Bulldozer chip, the AMD Bulldozer. I explicitly went to the Core Boot website and I looked and I said, okay, which of these motherboards does Core Boot support? Oh, this is the one. So I bought that motherboard. And then, eventually I had a day where I had time to work on it. And I compiled core boot and flashed it to the EEPROM on my motherboard. And then my computer wouldn't boot at all. It wouldn't even post. It was just dead. It was not good. And so, I jump on their IRC and I start asking, like, okay, so I did make a backup of the EEPROM first. I knew enough that it could be bad that I made a backup first. I used a tool and I made a backup. But then I was in this weird situation where I had my EEPROM and I had my backup, but I couldn't turn the computer on that had the EEPROM and the backup. I was sort of stuck. And so I got to looking, and turns out that the EEPROM on her desktop, they would physically fit. And they were both, essentially the same, enough of the same type of EEPROM that I could swap them. So I made sure her computer, her desktop was booted. I went in there with, tweezers or whatever while the thing was running and yanked her EEPROM out, put mine in, hooked up my hard drive using like an IDE or a SATA to USB cable, went and got the file that I backed up, put it on hers, and burned my old EEPROM back out using her desktop, and then yanked that chip out, put the right one back in, and made sure I got my desktop up, and then rebooted hers to make sure I hadn't broken it, because I needed at least one of the two to work. Oh, that was a day of me going, oh, these motherboards are expensive. I hope I didn't break both of them. Got them both back up and working by the end of the day. But that was another day of doing a little sweating over it. And no, I didn't tell you what I was doing before I did it.
No.
Oh, yep, that was fun. Let's see, when we got the house here, I don't know if this is quite the same kind of story, but I pulled a bunch of Ethernet in the house here. Were you on board with that? I honestly can't remember.
I don't think I was against it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think at that point, it's like, yeah, okay, well.
This is a thing he does.
This is expected.
Indeed. I know there have to be some more.
Probably.
I know I've brought computers home over the years and played with them, but that's so normal at this point. I'm not sure it's worth a story. Trying to remember if there's anything. I know I've taken the car apart a couple of times to try to work on that, but nothing really spectacular has ever come out of that, so I'm not sure that that's worth a story. I have all these ideas for things to do, put a car computer in the car, and with a Raspberry Pi. I'm still thinking about doing that. At one point I had this planned out where I could like take the dash apart and replace the screen that was in there, but at some point you kind of run out of your free time to be able to work on these things, and you end up with like actual work stuff that you've got to do. So
it's life.
It's life. Yep.
I think my frustrations tend to not be related to your shenanigans.
I mean, that's saying something, that my shenanigans don't frustrate you anymore.
Not usually. It's more like your vague words. Soon. I'm almost done. It's like, dude, Dad, just one more day.
Yeah, one more day construction. I pulled up my collection of stories here, and some of these I didn't actually know you when I pulled these off.
I mean,
like the foot switch laptop, that was fun, but that was about the time that we first met. Did you ever see the foot switch laptop? I mean, it's probably around here somewhere. I doubt I threw it away. I guess I might have. It would have been the laptop that I bought and took to college, so about the same era as Miranda.
No, I remember Villia.
Nah, this would be the Dell from before that. The power switch on it broke, and the screen broke as well. No, the screen broke first. That's what it was. The screen broke, and so I had taken the laptop, take the screen off, screen cable to go to a monitor on the desk, and then I'd slid the laptop, up underneath the desk. And it's like, well, getting down there to the power button was a pain. I also had an old broken guitar pedal, and so I just pulled out some Cat5 cable and soldered onto the switch on the laptop, and then ran it to the guitar cable or the guitar pedal and soldered onto the button there. And I had a laptop under my desk with a foot switch on it. You may have seen that once or twice. I don't know. That would have been a thing about the time.
Maybe when we were dating.
Yeah, about the time we first met.
That was once we were married.
Yeah,
no, my memories of you when we were dating is you're this like massive guy. 6'4", 6'5", huge, itty bitty laptop.
Yeah, so when we first met, I had an Asus E, and yes, it was a very small laptop. I liked that laptop actually, but it was very
portable.
It was very portable. It was about the size of my hand. You could almost tuck it into a suit coat pocket. I still like the 7-inch tablets because you can actually do that. Unfortunately, hardly anybody makes a decent one anymore.
No. Our son was asking me about a tablet the other day. If I had a tablet like Dad. I have a tablet somewhere. Doesn't work anymore.
That one stopped charging.
And it's in Daddy's office somewhere. Because Daddy keeps my technology. And I don't know where he's got it. But he powered it on when he found it and was like, hey, if you can make it work, I'd use it.
It's pretty old at this point, though.
It is really old. And it had to have the not corded charger.
I had to have a wireless charger, yeah, that was the thing. And after a while, that stopped working too, I think.
Yeah, well, one of us dropped it. So the power button didn't always work either.
let's be honest. I think that's how almost all tablets die. Somebody dropped it. This is the way it goes. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I've looked several times for like an Android tablet, and hardly anybody makes them. At least not new ones, and the ones that are new that people are making, they're like 10 or even 11 or 12-inch tablets. I was like, oh my goodness, I have a laptop, thank you.
Indeed.
I don't need another laptop without a keyboard. There was the time, you weren't there for this, but you sent me to the NSA conference about FPGAs, and there were government spooks all around, and they're like, open it for questions, because almost everybody there was either an academic studying this stuff, and it's like they were trying to figure out, how do you do secure FPGAs? How do you secure the FPGA supply chain? And my question was, if you really want this stuff to be secure, have you considered trying to open source the tool chains? It was just like silence. No, we haven't really ever thought about that. Well, okay. And then the next day, it was a 2-day conference. The next day, I walked out of the motel room and I forgot my laptop or my wallet. So I didn't have my ID, which, again, this is a spooks conference. And so it's like, oh, well, you can't come in without an ID. Like, oh man, I'm going to have to go back and get it. I'm going to be so late. And they're like, unless you've got somebody here that can vouch for you. And I'm like, look around at the other people walking in. And one of the guys is like, hey, that's the open source guy. Yes. That is indeed me. You had a T-shirt that was sort of along that for the longest time.
Yeah, from Think Geek, back when I worked with you.
Mm-hmm. What did the T-shirt say?
I am the IT guy.
Yes. And more than once, people would look at it and go, what does it mean you're the it guy?
Yes. Which irritated my English self so much.
Yes. Indeed.
Well, they would look at this shirt too and go, you're Greek? And I read that again?
Try again.
Oh, you're geek? Okay, now stop and think about it.
Yes.
Oh!
Indeed. Well, I mean, we live in southwestern Oklahoma, so like, it's not the strongest for pop culture and tech culture and
Indeed.
People that get those sorts of jokes. We're kind of some of the outliers here, but that's okay. Yeah.
It was a sad day when I discovered that Gen 2 is an actual type of penguin, and I had a very small crowd of people that I could explain how excited I was to come across this knowledge, and they wouldn't just stare at me like, okay, yay, penguins. There are other kind of penguins, it's not the only one, I guess, but you don't understand. It's a Gen 2 penguin. It's what it's called. It's like it's the type of ping. Never mind.
I understand. And now since we do the podcast, you have a larger audience that would understand.
A slightly
this.
larger audience, yes.
Yes, there are a few people there that would understand it as well.
Yes.
It's not just me and my friend Aaron.
Yes. Yep.
Just imagine what it was like for Aaron and I before we met each other in high school.
I'm sure.
Just get excited all by yourself.
Indeed.
You have two of us that you can tell.
It's still a sad predicament. No, I do. On occasion, if I come up with something that strikes my fancy, I'll pop it in to the Discord chat, either on the Floss Weekly chat or the Linux Show chat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a group of friends there. The people that tune in all the time, and they get our humor, and they can appreciate the jokes and all of that stuff. Like Gentoo, like people will appreciate the Gentoo penguin that listen and watch this. Definitely. Even
if they don't use Gentoo. I've never used Gentoo. All I know about it is what Rob has said on the show.
You use KDE, right? Is your primary?
Yep. Yes, because that's what Fedora came with. And then I tried GNOME on your Pop OS. Like, oh, I hate this. This is like Apple. I hate Apple. I don't like Apple. Like, I'm sure as a company it's fine. A lot of people like Apple, but when you grew up on Microsoft, Apple is backwards. You go to scroll in one direction, it goes the opposite direction. Like, where's the button for turning off this thing on Windows? And in KDE, it's the bottom left corner. Not so on Apple and GNOME.
Indeed.
I've never been in Vim either, but sometimes I feel like I've experienced it.
Never been stuck in the editor?
Nope.
Well, it'll happen one of these days.
Maybe.
I know there for a while you were threatening to try, was it Cinnamon? One of the other desktops.
It might have been Cinnamon that Rob mentioned. No, I kept bugging you about Kubuntu for a while because Fedora was giving me such fits.
Yeah, we eventually got that fixed.
And Jeff was like, hey, you can try this. And I mentioned it to you and your friend, and you'd both be like, please don't do that to me.
Yes, because we're the ones that would have to do the tech support for it.
Indeed.
I think that ended up being a dying hard drive, or maybe even a motherboard problem.
I don't remember. I think it was the SATA cable, actually.
That's
that was
right.
Connecting it.
We replaced that, and that made things happier.
Yes.
Not a complete fix, but it's not been as much of a problem here recently.
Indeed. Well, I can actually, open my home folder and not be told that I don't have permission to open my home folder.
That's never good.
Nothing is here. You are too much of a commoner to come into this realm. Like, no, I'm the queen of this realm. Thank you very much.
The queen of the castle. Indeed. Yeah, that's because your hard drive was in the process of dying, was going to read only, and yeah, it was very not happy. We've talked about picking up another laptop for out in the main area, and I guess I'll let you put whatever you want to on that, as long as it's, not Windows
free?
11.
So long as it's free?
Yeah, as long as it's not Windows 11.
Well, I don't have any experience with Windows 11. I stopped working with you at 10, so...
Yeah, probably.
Didn't really like 10 either.
Probably at this...
10 had too many UI changes. That's one of my beefs with updates. People feel the need to change the user interface, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Why change it if it works? Could pull that down joke about Baroque, but I'm not a dad, so I'll spare you.
Yeah. No, probably will eventually get a framework laptop, one of the 13-inch frameworks to go out there, and I don't know, maybe I'll make her put it together and set it up. That'd be fun. I can juggle the kids while she works on the laptop.
I could do it.
I know you could. Absolutely.
I have mastered the art of typing in the password on that laptop.
The one with the dying keyboard.
The keyboard doesn't always work.
Yes.
You have to count the stars as they go across to make sure you actually got the right length.
Yes. You are much better at that than I am. Fun times. All right, so we talked about a lot. We don't necessarily have to go to a full hour. People will still appreciate it if it's only 45 minutes or so. I do have to ask you, though, before I let you go, this is something people will legitimately want to know. What's your favorite text editor and programming language?
I have to choose. You say a couple of episodes ago, you just asked for language, and one of the ladies answered English. I'm like, that is a stellar answer. I like that answer. That's my answer.
English is your favorite programming language?
English is my favorite language.
Okay. Text editor.
It's also the language I studied in college.
Yeah, that's fair. Text editor?
Kwrite. It's the only one I learned. I guess technically I've used Nano, but
yep.
I learned in Kwrite. I've done a little bit of Nano. I guess I've done most with Python. Since HTML and CSS don't count as official languages, Python would have to be the answer.
Well, no, they're languages. They're just not programming languages. They're markup languages.
It programs what I see on the screen, usually, till I make a change, and then suddenly I'm scrolling and going, well, I didn't say anything about yes.
Oh, yes. Your div that you wanted to move 3 pixels is now a screen and a half off.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't like HTML and CSS. They're not my favorite things to work with. Indeed. All right. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that I should have? Any more fun stories come to mind? Insert Jeopardy music here.
Don't tempt me. I was also a music major.
Indeed.
Now, I think the only other thing that comes to mind is when you started on the Linux show, I couldn't be in the chat without getting my own Discord name.
Right.
So I signed up for Twit Plus, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, you got on Discord and then joined Club Twit.
And then you were starting a show. I'm like, hey, I'm going to come up with a really cool name. You'll know it's me, I promise. So you started the show, and I popped in as wife of Jonathan.
Yes, and about died laughing. Distracted me for the show. It was hilarious.
Almost. I think I want to say everybody in your audience really appreciated it. There were some of my friends like, what? Why would you choose that for a name? Like, so I want everybody to know that I am your wife, and I am proud of you. And I'm here to support you.
Aw, awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for stepping in at the last minute, and it's been genuinely been a lot of fun. And so maybe we'll do it again sometime, or maybe we'll have you on the Untitled Linux show as one of our co-hosts there.
As one of the co-hosts with an opinion.
Yeah, we could do that. We could totally do
that. Wait till Fedora breaks something, and then I'll have an opinion.
There you go. Yeah, or when you get we get the framework laptop and you install something else on it, you can come do a review for us.
Sure.
There we go. All right, appreciate it. Anything you want to plug?
Just the stuff you do.
Okay.
Appreciate everybody that listens to Floss Weekly, and pops over to Twit, and listens to the Untitled Linux show. Their memories of being a newlywed and hearing Floss Weekly with Randall. She tuned in every Wednesday. Yes. Security Now is always a good one, too.
Yep. It's fun stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, I will plug some stuff. There is the Untitled Linux show. We mentioned that. You can go and check us out if you want to hear more about Linuxy stuff. I've also got the security column, goes live every Friday morning on Floss Weekly, on Hackaday. And this is Floss Weekly, and it's on Hackaday as well. And we sure appreciate everybody that listens and watches, those that get us live and on the download. And we will see you next week on Floss Weekly.